Okay, Rabbi Sai. Rabbi Sai, first of all, I want to give a mazel tov to Iran on the Siyam. The neshama should have an aliyah. I'm sure his father's looking down and is very proud of his son. All that he's accomplished and all that he does for the yeshiva. We don't have to talk about that. We know that he's running the place. And so you should go and continue making more tziyumim. So, as you know, it's my want to say over a Pachid Yitzchak because I went to Chaim Berlin. So, I would like to talk about Reb Hutner's analysis of a pasuk in Balak. We know that Bilam prophesied about all different types of nations, and it says there when Bilam saw Amalek, Reishis Goyim Amalek, Achriyasai Ade Oived. The simple reading of the pasuk is Amalek was the first ones presumably that attacked Klal Yisrael. But Achriyasai and his end will be total annihilation, total obliteration, total decimation. That's going to be his end. So we're going to take a little bit of a unique take on this pasuk. First of all, we're going to say that the Achriyasai ad Oived doesn't just mean at the end he will be annihilated. It means because of the end he'll be annihilated. What is the end? What do we mean when we say the end? The end means Achas Hayamim, the end of days. It means the times of Mashiach, the millennium, right? The days of eschatological days. So, what does that represent? The times of Mashiach and the millennium, and it's a utopian era, in the sense that any wrongs that there may have been amongst peoples, amongst nations, will be rectified. There will be a rectification. There will be a correct. There'll be all wrongs will be remedied. So that's what Achas Hayam represents. So the pasuk is saying Achriyasai, because of the end, because the end represents Tikkun Ha'olam, the rectification of the world, Amalek cannot be rectified. He's irremediable. He's incorrigible. He's intractable. He cannot be fixed. So hence, that's why it's not just at the end he'll be destroyed. Because of the end, because of that era, he can't exist during that time. Why not? Reish is going Amalek, because he was the first to attack Klal Yisrael. So we're going to also get a better handle on that. Seemingly, the pasuk seemingly says, "Oh, since it's the first one to attack Klal Yisrael, so we have to do some type of revenge against him, and he can't be rectified. He can't be in the times of Achas Hayam." We're going to give a little bit of a deeper explanation. So we know that the Medrash says that after the story of Amalek, the first time that Klal Yisrael was attacked by Amalek, so it says, "Vayishma Yisrael," that Yisrael joined the ranks of Klal Yisrael. And we know that Yisro is the first ger, and Rashi famously says, what did Yisro hear? He heard about the vanquishment, he heard about the defeat of Amalek. And it says in Mishlayim, Leitz Taka Upesi Yarim, the Leitz get hit, and the Pesi, the fool, Yarim gets edified, gets educated, gets inspired. Who's Leitz Taka? That is Amalek. Leitz Taka is Amalek. Amalek gets hit, vanquished, defeated, walloped. Pesi Yarim, who's the Pesi? That's Yisrael. Yisrael was initially foolish, wayward, but Yarim, at the end, because he saw what happened to Amalek, he was educated, he was illuminated. He was edified by that experience. So, it seems to be saying that even though Amalek was hurt and hit, but he did not change. It had no effect on Amalek. He didn't do any tshuva. It didn't change anything about him. Pesi, the Yisrael, who was like in the bleachers, and he just saw it from the outside. He was standing from the side view. Oh, him it affected. But it seems in the pasuk, the reason that Amalek was not affected, even though it was happening directly to him, because he's a letz. Now, what does the word letz mean? We know the word letz in the modern Hebrew means a clown, right? A clown. But we're going to see that the word letz means a nihilist. You know what a nihilist is? Someone who says nothing matters. A nihilist has only one principle, that there are no principles. A nihilist has only one value, that there are no values, that nothing matters. Nothing matters, doesn't make a difference. It's not a question of good and evil, right and wrong. There's no good and evil, right or wrong. There's just nothing, right? That's a nihilist, right? An antinomian, right? That's an antinomian is someone who believes that there's nothing matters. So it seems to be saying that the reason why Amalek, even though he was vanquished and defeated and walloped, and you figured that he would learn something, no, he didn't learn anything from the situation. Yisrael learned, but not Amalek, because he's a letz. So let's get a handle on that. Where do we see that Amalek is a letz? So first of all, we're going to say a famous Rabbeinu Yoina. The Mishlay, it says in Mishlay, Kor lezav ish lefi mahaloi. If you have a kor lezav, if you have a huge piece of gold, so you take a little bit off of it and you put it in a crucible or a kiln, and you basically melt it, you'll see what the alloy is, what are the pollutions, and how pure the gold is exactly, right? So kor lezav, when you want to find out how good a zav is, how pure it is, and to get rid of its alloy, so you put it in a core. Ish lefi mahaloi. If you want to know how good a person is, it depends on how he is being praised. That is a simple reading of the pasuk. That's where Rashi learns. Kor lezav. You want to know the purity of his zav. You put it in a core. Ish lefi mahaloi. You want to know the person's value or how he is considered in esteem. See how people talk about him. Ish lefi mahaloi. But the Rabbeinu Yoina says that's not the pshat of the pasuk. Ish lefi mahaloi does not mean how people praise the person. It means ish lefi mahaloi means what he praises. If you want to know what a person is, see what he praises. What does he extol? What does he venerate? What does he glorify? What does he give reverence to? What does he give homage to? This is the way that you know who a person is. And the Rabbeinu Yoina very explicitly says, there are people and they may have faults, and they may have undesirous behaviors, and they may have all different types of hang-ups. But if that person praises tzaddikim, or praises good deeds, and praises righteous acts, that's who he is. That's who he is. And everything else, all his failures and all his falterings, that's not really who he is. But ish lefi mahaloi, it's what he praises, what he venerates, that shows who he is. So if the person is venerating tzaddikim and ma'asim tovim, righteous deeds, that's where he's at. That now you know his value. Now you know where he's holding. And a person who may be behaviorally is not doing any averis, but if what he praises and what he gives credence to and venerates and glorifies as something evil or some misdeeds or Mishlayim, then you know where that person is. You know what level he's on. Ish lefi mahaloi. A man according to what he praises. So we have a parable over here. Sometimes you find a Talmud Chacham, a guy who's learning, and he's very erudite, and he's diligent. And then you have another guy who barely learns, doesn't have whatever reasons, he couldn't go to yeshiva, or it wasn't for him, or he doesn't have the time, whatever it may be. And you'll find that when a rich person walks into so you have these two people, the big Talmud Chacham who's learning a lot, and this guy sitting next to him, just a regular guy, a working guy who really doesn't have much time to learn, and a rich person walks into the room. You'll see that sometimes the Talmud Chacham gets up and runs to that rich person and offers him a seat and shows him homage and shows him respect and is obsequious to that rich person. And the working guy, no, he doesn't really give much credence to or reverence. And then all of a sudden, another Talmud Chacham walks in, and the first Talmud Chacham basically ignores him, doesn't stand up, doesn't show him any credence or reverence. And the guy who's working gets up to that other Talmud Chacham and says, "Here, take a seat," and he shows him honor and reverence and homage. So says Rabbi Yoina, yes, the first fellow is a Talmud Chacham, he knows how to learn. And the second level, the working guy, doesn't really know too much how to learn. But in a sense, in a very palpable sense, the guy who's learning is at a higher level, is closer to Torah than the guy who's sitting and learning all day. Because the guy who's sitting and learning all day, when his colleague walks in, he ignores him. When his colleague that's in the kollel with him or in the base medrash with him, he just ignores him. He's mezalzel, he says, "I know more than him," whatever. Or he just ignores him, doesn't show him respect. When a rich person walks in, all of a sudden he jumps up and he starts basically showing him respect. And the working fellow, he gives respect to the Talmid Chachamim and doesn't really care so much about the rich guy. So ish lefi mahalaloi. Yes, the Talmid Chacham may know a lot more, but if you measures them based on this Rabbi Yoina, according to what a person praises, according to a person reveres, this working class person is on a much higher level than a Talmid Chacham. And we find many times, and I've experienced this many times, a guy has been learning in Kollel, and he comes to him, and the guy's working. And he comes to, he's in the mid-40s, and he has a midlife crisis, and the Kollel guy says, maybe I should have gotten a job, I would have lived a little better life, things would have been a little bit easier for me. And the working guy says, maybe I should have stayed in Kollel. Maybe it wasn't the right choice, right? A midlife crisis, right? I've had 20 of them so far. So who's on the higher level? At that point, says Rav Hutner, the guy who is working his whole life, but now his aspirations or his yen, his pining, is that he says, wow, I wish I was learning more Torah. Even though he knows nothing, basically, he knows a lot less than the guy who's learning Kollel, and he's a big Talmid Chacham. But in this aspect, it's where you're headed to, or what you revere, or what you glorify, what you extol, what you praise, what your aspirations, what you admire, right? So this is very true. This is very true also. Besides everything else, I've seen it many times in life. This concept of Islafi Mahala. You are who you praise. Now, this is all predicated, this Rabbi Yoina is all predicated on that you have a person who have values, and the question is, what do you value? You can value good, you can value bad, you can have good principles, you can have bad principles, right? But we find in the world, and we find a little bit in each of us, that there's something called a koyach ha-zilzul, which is we don't want to value anything, right? We find people who, and a little bit of in ourselves, we find this kind of, nothing matters. We don't value good or bad. There is no good or bad. We don't value anything. There are no principles. In one sense, it's very liberating. In one sense, in a very superficial sense. If you have no principles, you can do whatever you want, right? You don't got to feel guilty about it either, because nothing matters. It's not a question of good or bad. It's nothing, right? So it's in a very superficial sense. The truth is very depressive, but in a very superficial sense, it's very liberating. Nothing matters. That's called koyach hahilul. Koyach hahilul is you praise something. You have values. You have principles. The question is, what do you praise and what do you value? And there's koyach hachilul. A koyach of to profane or koyach hazilzu, you belittle, you demean, you disparage. What? Everything. Nothing matters. Nothing. That is called that's called a nihilist. Nothing matters, right? So in Hebrew, that's what we call a leitzanis. Leitzanis is that. Leitzanis is that power or that attribute to that characteristic that nothing matters. Doesn't make a difference. Nothing matters what happens to you. Nothing matters what happens to me. There's no good, there's no bad, there's nothing, right? And that's what a Leitzin wants. It's very important for a Letz who wants to believe in this type of outlook in life. He's always trying to knock everything down. Everything he's trying to knock down. He loves anarchy, everything he's knocking down. Because that gives him a sort of sense of security. Nothing matters, then I'm okay, because nothing matters, right? So there's koyach hahilul against koyach ha-chilul. Koyach ha-hilul against koyach ha-zilzul. Oh. So this whole Rabbi Yoina, who says, Islafi mahaloi, that's all predicated that people have values. They extol something, they admire something. But there's certain people that they don't even go into the rubric, don't even go into this conversation because they don't mahal anything. Oh. If you think about it, this is actually said openly in the Mesilas Yesharim. We've all learned the Mesilas Yesharim. When the Mesilas Yesharim was talking about Teichacha, he says, I want to tell you, there's one thing that if you have this attribute, forget about it. You could close the book. What is that? Leitzanis achas doicha me teichachos. One bit of leitzanis knocks down 100 teichachos. Right? You remember the Mesilas Yesharim mashal? You remember the mashal over there with the shield that is smeared with oil. So you shoot arrows at the shield, they bounce off. So basically, the Mesilas Yesharim says, if you have leitzanis, you are basically impermeable. You're impervious. The techacha is not going to go anywhere. So the question is, why does the Mesilas Yesharim pick that? There could be many reasons why people don't take teichacha. You know, the guy who's giving you the teichacha, you don't happen to like the guy, so you don't want to listen to him. You know, there's a bad connection between you and the mashkiach, or maybe the particular thing that the guy is giving you teichacha on, you sort of like gave up on. You like, forget about it. I can't change this. There's many different reasons why teichacha doesn't work. But why? So why is the Mesilas Yesharim picking this? But the answer is clear. The Mesilas Yesharim is not talking about a particular aspect of a certain situation why teichacha may not work. It's not talking about. He's just talking about an attribute that basically precludes any concept of teichacha. It's just like, if you have this attribute, forget about it. There's no way that teichacha can have any effect on you. Why? Because what is leitzanis? Nothing needs to be fixed. Nothing matters. Everything is a joke. Nothing is important. So if nothing needs to be fixed, so how could you give him, what is teichacha? You're going to give him a reprove, you censure him, you admonish him, you rebuke him. The guy looks at you like you're crazy. Well, what are you rebuking me for? I don't believe in the whole concept. The whole concept doesn't exist. The whole concept of having wrong principles or changing something. What I got to change? Nothing matters anyway. So that's why the Mesilas Yesharim says, if you're like sonis, that's doicha mea teichachos. You're wasting your time with that type of person. And like we said in the Gemara in Yevamos, al toichach letz. Don't give a teichacha to letz. It's just a total waste of time because he is totally impervious, impenetrable. You can't penetrate him. It's impossible. Oh, so now, if we think about all this, it comes out that Amalek is the quintessential letz. Where do we see that Amalek is the quintessential letz? Because Rashi says that what was the reason why Amalek attacked the Klal Yisrael? It wasn't anything about a territorial type of fight. It was asher korcha b'derech. Right? So simply shakarcha means that he came upon you. But Rashi says kar is from the lashon of coldness, right? A lashon of frigidness. That there was reticha. The world was boiling. The world was boiling with showing importance to Klal Yisrael, with showing value, showing principles, which was the Klal Yisrael represented. And Amalek felt that he had to chill the situation down a little bit. Rashi brings the famous mashal. Rashi says that the whole world was afraid of Klal Yisrael. They had admiration. They had awe. They extolled Klal Yisrael. And it's a mashal, and everyone was afraid to start up to say one bad word about to demean Klal Yisrael in any way. Came is a mashal to a famous mashal, a bath that's boiling. No one could go into it. So some letz jumps into it. He gets burned. He gets scalded totally. But now everyone else could go into it. And now everyone could go into the bath. He led the way. That's exactly why Amalek attacked Klal Yisrael. Since they are the quintessential letz, which means that there are no principles, there's nothing significant, there are no values, there's no sense of right and wrong. They could not stand what Klal Yisrael represented. And they couldn't stand more that the world was being affected. Like we say in Az Yashir, Maya was afraid, everyone was afraid. It was just, they couldn't stand it. They were willing to self-sacrifice themselves just in order to change that situation. Again, Klal Yisrael was the koyach ha'hilul, and Amalek was koyach ha'chilul, the koyach ha'zilzul. They were all about derision and debasing and denigrating and to derogate and to deprecate and to diminish. That's what they were about. That's all they cared about. And they were willing to do everything they can to bring their beliefs into the world. What's their beliefs? There are no values, there are no principles. Don't get so excited about Klal Yisrael. They'll do anything to have a binyan. Klal Yisrael was creating an edifice, a concept, an idea. They would do anything to breach it, anything to bring down that building, and just that everything is just a wasteland. That's what they wanted. Everything should just be a wasteland because nothing means anything. So now, according to this, and where do we see the source of this? We know that the Zaydah, who's the Zaydah of Amalek? Esav. When Esav sold the Bechorah to Yaakov, it doesn't just say that he sold it. It says, Vayivez Esav es Bechorah. He scorned it. Very good. It was derisible. It was a joke. He mocked it. He said, I don't need it. That, from the Zaydah, that's where Amalek totally took it to a whole new level. and he just wanted to debase everything, to vitiate everything. Now that we have this, we have a clear understanding based on Rav Hutner what the pasuk means. V'achriyasei adi avi, we explained, is the end, Mashiach time, that era of the millennium, represents the time of rectification. Now, in order to be rectified, the least you have to do is to believe that something is wrong. All the nations, it's all their failures. At least they had some principles, something they had. And many of them realized they're doing things wrong, but they couldn't help themselves. The Yetzer Hara got them. But at least you realize that there are certain values, there's a hierarchy of values. But if that's what Mashiach represents, Amalek, what do we say Amalek is? He's the quintessential letz. What is the quintessential letz? That he can't have any teichacha, which means he's irremediable, he's incorrigible, he's inamenable, he can't be changed. Because he doesn't want to be changed, because nothing has to be changed, so you can't change something that doesn't want to change, that doesn't need to be changed, who feels that who feels that the whole concept of change doesn't exist. So that's what the pasuk means. Achriyasei ad the other. It's not just at the end he'll be obliterated. Achriyasei, because of the end, he's precluded from being part of that era, that utopian era. And what's the reason? Why is Achriyasei ad the other? Because Reishis Goyim Amalek. Now, Reish Goyim Amalek doesn't mean, just because he's the first one who started up with Klal Yisrael. It's much more than that. Reish Goyim Amalek means that shows who he is. That shows who's his essence. His essence is that he's a letz. His essence is that nothing matters, that there are no principles. There's nothing of significance, there's nothing important. And there's nothing that matters, so there's nothing that ever needs to be fixed, because nothing is fixable, because nothing's ever broken. If it ain't broken, you got to fix it, right? That's what they say. So that's the way Rav Hutner reads the pasuk. Reish is Goyim Amalek, because he's the first one to attack Klal Yisrael, which shows his essence, what Amalek is, that he's a letz. So Achriyasei, in the end, the Mashiach Adi Ovid, he can't exist at that point in time. You understand what he's saying? He's saying, let's taka Pethayarim. When Amalek got hit, it's impossible for him to be fixed. Because if it was possible for him to be fixed, he would never attack Yisrael anyway. It would be antinomy. It would be a stira. If he attacks Yisrael, that shows that he can't be fixed. Because that's what he's showing. He's showing that nothing matters. If nothing matters, it can't be fixed. Let's talk it. But Yisrael, Pethayarim, Yisrael saw how a person could stoop to so low. And he said, wow, I got to change my ways. So Rabbi say, just to end off, actually, this story of Amalek, so why did this happen? It just happened to happen. We know that this story of Amalek was preceded by a tragic situation with Klal Yisrael. What does it say right before Amalek came? Vayavei Amalek v'yalachim misaber fidim. And what does it say? That they did bittul Torah. But the problem is, it doesn't say bittul Torah. It said they were Rafi Yudayim. Rafi Yudayim. What does Rafi Yudayim mean? It's a very funny lashon. They should have said that they weren't learning Torah, bittul Torah. That's usually the expression used. Rafi Yudayim min a Torah. It says Rafi Yudayim min a Torah. What does that mean? It sounds like it wasn't that they weren't learning Torah. Rafi Yudayim sounds. Rafu means soft. It sounds like they sort of became a certain indifference. Rafi Yudayim means like, you know, they were learning. They had ardor. They had a fervor, a fervency, a zeal. They were learning inspirationally, with a passion. And then something happened. I don't know exactly what. Rafi Yudayim. There's a certain type of belittling a little bit. So they sort of a little bit inconsequential. Wasn't that important? That's the lashon of Rafi Yudayim. Like took their hands off. They dealt with it more softly. So that exactly, whenever Klal Yisrael has a failure on a minute level, somehow or other that translates that all of a sudden Amalek came and pounced on them. We said Amalek is the Rafi Yudayim at the highest level, at the apex, at the zenith. That nothing is matter. He's indifferent about everything. He has indifference he's apathetic about everything. Nothing matters. So when Klal Yisrael became a little bit listless, a little bit lethargic, a little Rafi Yudayim, a little languid, a little bit lackadaisical, a little bit. So somehow or other that opened up the beast, and Amalek had the power now. Now we're going to show the world that nothing means anything, and there are no values, no principles, and that's why Achriyas had the oven. So Rabbi says, so what's the takeaway from this? That we're at the end of the Zman. We're at the end of the Zman, you're all thinking what I'm thinking. Rabbi, fine. You're the one who's going to tell us about Musa, about coming on time. Yeah, but okay. Rabbi says, halavai, we should be zoiche that we shouldn't have a rough Yudayim, and we should have a good end of the Zman, and we should enjoy Purim.